the stream? Yeah.
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
You have actually opened the door to another dimension.
Hello. 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 Hello.
This calls for some big scratching.
Yes, it does.
Good morning.
Tony Caravan with you. It's 4:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the former United States, broadcasting worldwide on June 30th in the calendar year 2021. And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah. I'm here. Wednesday. I was thinking it was Thursday for some reason. I've got the air conditioner on, so if you can hear that in the background, you could just pretend you're on an airplane or you're on the Star Trek Discovery. What's cool about the Star Trek Discovery guys is that, I'm talking to these guys now, is that you guys were using like even a primitive or more primitive version of the communicator. Tony Caravan out. It's so fun to be a Trekkie. You know, Star Trek has been with me almost my entire life. Like almost. It's like I've got everything I need, almost. Muscle man. Hey, I weighed myself. Of course, it had something probably to do with the sweaty weather last night. I don't know, but I'm down another pound. Or I kept it down a pound. So it is possible to do these things. The question is whether or not I have the... I'm trying to see if the cat's still around. Yeah. He's not going anywhere because I have the air conditioning on. So.
You're now in a different continuum than the world you're used to.
That's very true. And let's see if we can start this day off the right way.
Really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, you're really funny.
Okay.
She's got the same silly laugh every day. Think about it. I woke up. I literally woke up less than a half hour ago. You know, 4:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I had some kind of fiber thing that was supposedly 90 calories, chocolate, whatever. You know. But I noticed there was aluminum, the last ingredient in there was aluminum sulfate or something like that. It's like, oh my goodness.
We have discovered that the force surrounds...
Oh, forget that. The force surrounding a magnet. I think we already know that.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Well, it's early. It's early. We're living in the 1950s, that you can see from the background, and we're staying there. Great solar stuff's a little more visible from the available light. I'm gonna try to have fun today. I was working on a song. I'm not gonna do it right away because my cat is like gets spooked with the guitar sometimes, and I know he's as hot as I am because last night was just the overnight. We might as well do this thing. Come on, let's do this thing, right? Let's do this thing. If you take that the wrong way, you know, screw you. Yeah.
The Weather Watch forecast.
And here's the Weather Watch. in my neck of the woods. It's currently 72 degrees outside, and you can see for some reason my mouth is out of sync because I pulled up this stupid thing. But anyway, it's going to be 86 degrees for the high today, a 70% chance of a thunderstorm, 68 for the overnight, and Thursday is looking like 72 degrees for the high, which we can all live with. Friday, 72, 57 overnight. There's a 100% chance of thunderstorm on Thursday, tomorrow. And the weekend is going to be in the 70s, though Sunday is going to end probably close to 80. So that's the deal with that.
The Weather Watch forecast.
According to this, I'm getting excellent collection. Wow, no collection. I'm out of sync again for no known reason. There are only 2 apps open. One is Chrome, which is supposedly broadcasting this. And this is the OBS, which is really not a big memory hog. It's a, so, let's see if we can catch up with the voice and get into this show. You have to look at it this way, and I'm not gonna talk about this long. Very short, in fact. Understanding how a CPU works, a computer works. In fact, some of the craziest computers that they've developed, you know, have actually had these sophisticated cooling systems inside, you know. So right now, I have an air conditioner on in a room that was a barber shop, a small barber shop, okay? Which means that I'm going to be freezing at some point and may well have to get up and turn that air conditioner off, okay? Because it's an air conditioner that can, like, be used for a giant room that I've got in this small space. In addition to that, I have this USB fan that I bought years ago that I have on the back of my computer facing to draw extra cooler air circulating through the computer itself. And then of course in itself has its own cooling system. Now that would mean that I should have optimal CPU usage, right? And with no other applications or programs running in the foreground, and certainly nothing in the background, because I've checked my activity monitor, built-in activity monitor, and it's like zeros all the way down, except for the broadcast app, right? Which I'm broadcasting in black and white, like, you know, minimal, not even using colors and stuff. And those things are using minimal, something like about anywhere from way less than 10% CPU usage combined to do this. So there is no reason whatsoever. And when you hear me do something like this,
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture.
that is coming from another machine that's simply going into the audio. Okay, which is no different than my microphone, the sound of my voice. So it's not using this CPU. Okay? And so it's very strange. So either this computer is on the verge of, and it's got an SSD drive. So it's not even like spinning a hard drive. It's got 16 gigabytes of DRAM. 16 gigs. And there's 2 terabytes of memory in there, and I've hardly used any of it because I've pretty much retired from that. So most of my like graphics is either stored in 2 different external terabyte drives, or I've used the cloud, but I'm not drawing on the cloud for anything. So just for you geeks, you know, and fellow muscle men, you see the distortion of this, you know? I mean, I almost look like I could be a little fellow, you know, little man. They used to call them midgets you know, that's, I guess, a demeaning word today. But it's not, that's not, you know, that's just not what, you know, it's not the view. It's this, that's another distorted thing, you know? You know, like the further, look at the fingers, right? Your hand gets bigger the further it goes up, but if it comes in, you know, if you come in a closer proximity, you know, around this area, you know, everything just broadens, fattens, and shortens. Like the face. The face is actually this tall.
Channel check. Left channel. Left channel.
Alright, we're gonna try something now. How could a guy be so chipper? Well, first of all, man, last night was just a miserable night. It was well, they said it was 91. They, you know, the weather report people, you know, of course I've got the old NOAA. But do we believe NOAA anymore?
Some small streams and in poor drainage areas Thursday afternoon and evening. Spotters are encouraged to report significant hazardous weather.
That's Thursday's thunderstorm, but you know, like the NOAA people. This is the NOAA radio. You get it, great solar stuff. Emergency charge your cell phone. All that jazz. But anyway, they were claiming before I went to sleep last night, it was 91 degrees outside. And the overnight, it was 72. It's saying it's 72 now outside. But it's humid. So it was like, I don't know. I figured most of the night, I had the window open. I had opened the window by like 10 or 11. Just to keep circulation in. I had the ceiling fan on all night. In fact, I probably still left it on. I probably forgot to turn it off. And it was probably, if it was 91 at 10, or 91 when I went to bed, it was probably in the 80s overnight. You know, do you ever think about this? Like in a wintertime, if you, I mean, you know, there's these people that like are in energy conservation nonsense. There's no need for that, really. Well, there wasn't until this past year, you know, 2021. Energy prices were low and we had plenty. But, you know, some people set their thermostat at like 68 degrees or something like that, or 60, you know, whatever. I think the average person probably is closer to 70, 72. All right. Now, guys like me, man, I like it close to 80. I'll take 80, you know, or I'll take high 70s, you know, 75 or something. But in the summertime, you don't want that temperature. So there's a certain amount of relativity about that whole thing, as they say. You know, think about that. So it's like you want it hotter in the winter and you want it cooler in the summer. All right. But that cooler to you, there's no way in the winter, you know, I would want it to be like below 68 degrees. I'd be like, oh man, it's cold. But in the summertime, it's like you walk into some place and it's 65 degrees, like the grocery store, and you're like, this is refreshing. Of course, not everybody, you know, you walk in with some girls and they're like, it's cold in here. Well, put a sweater on or something. You want a Pabst Blue Ribbon? Even sounds like it's a Pabst Blue Ribbon. But it's not. It's secretly a genuine Diet Fago. I ordered on that, one of those delivery services yesterday. Because I hurt my... Yeah, cat's still there, so I can't do it. I'm going to try a song today by this gentleman. And I can't guarantee I'm going to do a good job on it. I've done some of his renditions of other songs before, but I can't guarantee it's going to be, good. But it's a song that, I don't know the chorus of it. Because I'm not really, I haven't really studied this song. I should have. I don't prepare for these shows. I just got up. So it's like, anyway. So let's read the title of this show and see if that doesn't mess up the old synchronous thing. The title of the show is Tony Caravan Live 6/30/21, in quotation marks, April, June, and November. Do you get that reference? 30 days has September, April, June, and November. Okay, we're done that. Description. This way to the beach. Just an ordinary guy who has lived an amazing life and has stories to tell. An ordinary guy who has lived an extraordinary life and has the stories to tell. This is an adventure for your mind. Each show is enlightening in at least one small way. That said, it's forcibly the most unpopular vlog on the net. Kind of makes you wonder. Now, the idea of forcibly means the things that occur, particularly on the last several shows. It's forcibly, right? So, we're riding on this jet plane into a different dimension, and I hope you don't mind. It's louder in my ear, I think, than it is in your ear. I'm being very good at resisting the, I really want to have cocktails today. I love music and I love to smoke a cigar. I need to get down like another 2 pounds to like where I get to a point where I was about 5 months ago. And then once I hopefully achieve that threshold, get to that, then I could start going down. And that's where I want to lose 20 from there, or at least 15 to 20. And then I'll be in my ideal weight, so to speak, for health purposes and for clothing purposes. Rock Flux. Oh, this is a Rock Flux t-shirt for a real fan. That's available on TonyCaravanLive.com too. I'll give you a little hint. I hurt myself today. That's what we're gonna kind of mess with a little bit later on in the show. Something to look forward to. And speaking of, I should have sang that song a couple of days ago when I bashed the story of that toe. My big toe that saved me from cracking my skull. So I should be thankful for that. But we're going to have to hold out because of this.
Meow 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 meow.
Because we don't want him to have, any problems. Yeah, this is solid gold radio. Doesn't have to have music. I'm going to pull out the old planning record here. This is the usual morning things we do, especially when I get up real early like this.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The 2021 gardening record. You know, I've realized that some of these people that I've watched on YouTube are crazy. Maybe we're all crazy on YouTube. Do you know who I'm talking about? That couple that just moved to Florida after they spent all that time rebuilding that house, but they sold it. So maybe they flipped it and made a fortune on it. I don't know. I mean, quite frankly, I wouldn't mind having bought that property. You know, one of the reasons that they didn't like it is that the people there basically there wasn't enough. They didn't think there was enough to do. That a lot of people, their social things were things like going to bars. Hey, I'm on with that, man. I wouldn't mind going to bar. There's a bar. There's two bar. No, I can't say that. There's actually like 4 or 5 bars in this town. Maybe even more. I don't even know about. I mean, in this general vicinity, close to walking distance. My problem is I'm an early drinker, and the Irish pub, which is the place I would love to go, doesn't open till like late in the afternoon, like after work type of thing. And I guess they're trying to avoid these like daytime so-called drunks, but I think they're missing the demographic. It's like the idea, there's a lot of people like me who are just retired who are like, we're not into we don't care about going out at night. You know, I just want to go in. I want to go into a bar around lunch, noonish, and just have a couple of beers for a couple hours. You know, if you're making a ham and cheese sandwich in the back, I'll have one of those too. I'll be a good customer. Then I want to go home and watch YouTube or like binge watch right now, like I'm watching Star Trek Discovery. So anyway, on the 28th and 29th, it was 90 plus degrees, and overnights in the 70s plus. 30th still hot. Semicolon, overnight, slightly lower. July 1, thunderstorms, slight cool down. We hope. I hope. And again, keeping a journal like this on top of, doing, these kinds of things.
The Weather Watch forecast
Every day gives you what I always say is first-hand knowledge of something. Oh, by the way, this is a beret, okay? It's not some kind of like goofy, weird cultural thing from somebody who wants to do anybody, whatever. It's a beret. I am a beat poet, okay? A rock and roller. Yes, I have a soul patch and a kind of a semi-goatee mustache. Okay, there's nothing wrong with this face. I can't help if the camera kind of like flattens me out a little bit. Some of my notes, black pepper. So yesterday's delivery disaster. Now I got some really neat stuff. You know, I got this chicken salad, kind of gourmet chicken salad, an antipasto, some like Irish cheddar cheese from Ireland, from the Emerald Isle, Ibigora, and and some like sparkling sangria. I mean, some interesting stuff, you know. But I ordered like this kind of tub of genuine kosher dill pickles. They didn't have them. I wanted a kosher dill pickle. So, as we sit here this morning, and remember, and you know, lest we forget,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
and this part of the show, since the mouth's in sync, hey, it's a lot better than the last show, the first 43 minutes or 45 minutes. I couldn't even talk. So just deal with this. So I'm just making my shopping list because I'm going for a walk. Because one of the reasons I'm on so early is this show will be over by the time the grocery store opens, so I could get down there before it gets hot. Well, it's going to be in the 70s, but at least I can, you know, that's not that bad. It's not going to be 88. Kosher pickles. No, I don't know if they'll have the best, but maybe in the frozen food section. Black pepper. I'm out of actually. I mean, I have some. I need to get Rolaids because I'm hoping this stomach thing goes away, but just in case. I got to get Tylenol just in case. The mouth has been doing, knock on wood, semi-good so far. And then I might get some cigars, which is very tempting to make me want to, you know. How's my Mentos supply? Mentos. Mentos has something in it called xylitol that like supposedly like fills in cavities, but don't take that to me as anything. I'm also going to try to set up a I still got to get it dashiki, and I need an extension cord. See, one of the ideas is it's inevitable that there's going to be another heat wave like we've had the last 2 days. And so I got this idea that maybe I can... Geez, I was trying to like get rid of a string and... Yeah, there's no way I'm going to buy an extension cord at a grocery store, but I'll put it down just in case for some reason they've had one there forever and nobody's buying it. And then I'll have to think about the weather watch. I hurt myself today. Okay, that took care of our business. It's 5:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the former United States, and let's get this show started. Everything seems to be doing fine. We're on board the airplane. Remember that TV show that these people were on a plane and then they were missing for like 5 years or something like that? Then they came back and it was weird. It was like a network TV show. The problem I have with network TV shows, excuse me, and remember, this is, you know, well.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Making up the rules as we go along.
The problem I have with network TV shows is that, you know, there's some decent writers out there. They get these concepts. I don't know. They steal them from somewhere or other. I don't know where. I don't know. And Enrique Kissinger wants to. You are useless eaters. But these, oh, geez, I'm starting to feel like a little bit of a, you know, like whatever coating was there from the xylitol toothpaste last night is being ripped away by this Kohler. Maybe I can hike up the street with some Dr. Pepper. For some reason, that doesn't seem to eat away at everything. You know, like some of these colas, they take the paint off your car. But anyway, back to these network shows. Excuse me. They, you know, it's a good concept, you know, and the first show is usually there, especially if it's like a sci-fi related thing or a thriller kind of thing, whatever. And that's all good, and it gets you like into it. Okay, hey, I'm gonna watch this show, right? And then as it just goes on, and it doesn't take long, sometimes it's only within a few episodes, they really get into the interpersonal relationships and this human drama, and suddenly this intense story or this thing that's got you know, drawn into it is like somehow it's like background. Right? And then of course then the social justice issues come in, and then they start replacing characters just because they want a person to be of this, you know, pigmentation or this orientation or something like that. And so by the time you get into the end of the season, it's like you're watching this show and it's like a bunch of people in interpersonal relationships dealing with social issues and stuff, and it's like, what happened to the time travel lost for, you know, 5 years, and, you know, you're in a different continuum crap, right? But that's network TV, and that's where we live today. So it's one of those things, like I say, that's why I'm living back in the 50s. See? The AM radio, the old telephone back here, back there, right? See the phone? Yeah. Calculator used to be on a desk in the old days, right? The classic on-air light from the last station I worked at. It's an authentic thing. Further back you go, the further. Ginormous finger. See, the camera lies, but not as much as the mirror. So, yeah, so I don't know what to say about that. That's just a weird thing. But anyway, on this show is
quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Let's get this show on the road.
Rock Flux. That's the name of the YouTube channel. So far, it's still on. It's one of those things where my seat is like hot, but the rest of me is cold. You know? CPU's doing fine, 30 frames per second, kilobytes per second, up speed, almost 3,000. That's not bad. You know, a lot of people have an uplink that's only about 6,000. What is it, Blackie? You want to come down? You want to come down? Are you getting too cold? You getting too cold? Did you hear that, kitty? My mustache. People are saying, what's going on with this show? The little cat is washing his paw with his little mouth. Why do we find certain things in these animals to be cutesy? So yeah, 30 days has September, April, June, and November. So today's the last day of June. Juneteenth, let's call it. June 30th or whatever. I don't know, whatever that thing is. People create holidays just for the sake of it.
I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered.
Imagine if we had a holiday for every person and group in this country that's been oppressed. Like the Irish. The Molly Maguires, the Irish, the Italians, the Polish. People who worked in the mines, right? Millions and millions of people worked in mines. 14 years old, died of black lung and all that stuff, right? Well, don't they get a holiday? Yeah. Chinese railroad workers who with picks, right? Literally picks and shovels, built the railroads and just died and were buried just in hollow graves along the way. Unmarked hollow graves. Yeah, that's who really built the railroads. People don't know about that stuff. That's the real forgotten history, not this stuff that the media tries to pit people against each other with, right? They make it seem like it's also about like some kind of weird color thing. It ain't about that. It's about the ruling elite, Rockefellers, the Mellons, the Carnegies, the Clintons, right? All those folk, the Pelosi's, all the rich ruling elitists, right? Same people who benefited on everything for, centuries, versus the oppressed people who came here after the Civil War. See, most Americans came here after the Civil War. A lot of people don't know that. They just simply don't know that. So when they talk about stuff like that, they don't understand. The worst oppression in America was during the Industrial Revolution, the slavery of people who owned their soul. I own my soul to the company store. And those were all European immigrants who came, and they were working 7 days a week. Child labor laws were eventually brought in. That's how labor unions even came into being. That was all about that. And they were all just Europeans. Like I say, they were Irish, Italians, Polacks, Lithuanians, Greeks, you name it. Those were hard times. And like I say, Chinese immigrants who built the railroads. And let's not forget the concentration camps we put the Americans from Japanese descent into. Do you ever take your fingers and put them around your wrist? Somebody told me once that's if you can touch, see how I'm touching there? If you can touch that like that, then your body mass is proper. I'm going to try pulling the thing out and see if I can do this. We're going to do test 1. It's okay, Blackie. Don't worry about this. It's just a guitar. I'm going to try this thing somehow. See if I can get it to play. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. Let's try that again. That's a Trent Reznor song, you know. Listen to this. I hurt myself today. I'm sorry, the chords, the way that thing's picking up here, let's. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. And the part I really didn't practice is this, you know, is something like, what have I become? My sweetest friend. And if I could have it all, my empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The cat ran. I don't know why he's afraid of the guitar. Weird. Since he was a kitten, like he just didn't, you know, I don't know. But he'll, at the same time, you know, I'll be in the bar and I've got these Bose speakers on the wall and I'll be blasting music. And he wants to, like, you know, he'll be like sitting right on the bar with me. It's weird. So it's not the music, it's just the thing. He's afraid of the, you know, what is that thing? It's like the vacuum, you know, and cats with that vacuum cleaners. Some will sit right on top of the darn thing. But most of them will just, like, the moment you get the vacuum cleaner out of the closet, they're like, bam, terror, you know? Get that thing away from me. But what about that song? I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. Wow. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. Man, you know, I mean, you know, Trent Reznor, you know, great song, you know, that you wrote, but, you know, Johnny Cash. You know, even his version of Personal Jesus, I ought to do that one next. But I haven't messed around with the chords and stuff on that one yet. It's an interesting show. You get a little bit of music, a little entertaining. Like I say in the intro, I'm just a regular guy who's lived an extraordinary life, and I've got these stories to tell. Excuse me. And for some reason, this frozen tundra environment now, because it's getting cold in this room, is like shooting my CPU down. So I don't know. What do I do? That face. The disappointment face. This is a beret. In case you didn't know.
I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
You said it, buddy. You know, the other thing I need to get is a short 1/8 inch jack extension. And I'll have to put in parentheses for headphones. I'm pretty much flat broke right now. But what I want to have a thing right here that I could just disconnect so I could get up if I want to get ice, or get up if I want to turn the air conditioner off, without having to take all this go through all this whole procedure of disconnecting everything to just turn the air conditioner off or something like that. I mean, I think it's cold enough in here now that, you know, even YouTube can't mess with me, right? My computer is, you know, I don't know. I'm debating, like I say, I broke down and got a credit card about a month or two ago, because I was getting these credit card things. I stopped getting those things too. It's funny how they know that you got one or something. I was getting every day or every other day, I was getting these credit card, you know, you qualified for a credit card. Except the only thing is they were scam credit cards, you know, the ones at 29. There was one that actually had 36% interest and an annual fee. Could you imagine some poor sucker? Because, you know, people don't read this thing and they're desperate for a credit card, and they don't turn at 36% interest with an annual fee of $100. They don't turn anybody down for that. You'll get the credit card. But what they do is You get a $300 balance, they'll deduct that $125 annual fee. Person gets this credit card and they've got like, 200 some bucks, on, available balance. They go out and buy something and then they have no idea. Then within literally 2 months, they're like underwater on the thing, and they're gonna be in collections in 6 months later. I used to just laugh at those. On my old shows, I used to show them and then just tear them up. But then one day I got this card. I'm not gonna like promote which it was, and it was like the lowest interest I'd seen on any credit card, no annual fee. Like a legit one of the companies that you see advertised on TV. Okay. And so I said, I'm going to get it. It has like 5%, started with a 5% cash back too, and then a 2% cash back, and all that stuff. And this hot girl, that eye candy actress, was their spokesperson. Do you know the one I'm talking about? She's hot to me anyway, and she played a couple of her best roles were in these movies where she was, actually she was in a TV show too, where she was this like kick-ass, broad, babe. I hurt myself today. Well, that was a couple days ago when I messed up my toe. I was telling somebody the other day, I've been a beer drinker my whole life. And of course I started on Yingling, which I'm not sure if I still have that image here or not. No. Well, yeah, there's Yingling there. Yingling glass. And Bavarian. Bavarian was a brewer in Mount Carbon, PA, which eventually Yingling bought them out and brewed it for a while. But when I was in high school, you used to be able to like go into some of these bars. They didn't even care. You could get like three quarts of Bavarian for $1. I mean, they knew you were high school. They didn't care. Of course, then again, in the neighboring states, the drinking age was 18 anyway. And it was the Vietnam War era and all that stuff. So it's like, I said this yesterday. If you're old enough to die for your country, you should be able to have a frickin' beer, right? But when I traveled around everywhere, and I went in Australia, I used to drink like 4X, or was it XXX or 4X? I forget what that was. That was a good beer. There were some good Australian beers besides Foster's, You don't even see Foster's around anymore. But I mean, in Australia, beers that never really, they might get exported to the major cities, but you don't see them, they don't disseminate out to the distributors in smaller areas. And and I remember even in New York, when I was in New York, they used to be able to get Heineken export, so it was Heineken that was actually exported to the United States. It was stamped export. It wasn't like Heineken made in the USA at such and such a place, right? It was Heineken that actually came over on a boat. And that was pretty good. That was better than the Heineken you would get here. But Heineken still had that, Heineken was weird. Those beers that came in the clear glasses, it's like you had to have it had to be really fresh, and it had to be kept like dark and cold, because otherwise it would get skunky really quick. That's why most beer bottles were always dark brown, right? And so in many cases, a canned beer, if it was a good, stainless steel type of can or whatever, You sometimes would get a better beer in a can than you would in a bottle. It's like some ales. Yingling used to have a still does, has a Chesterfield ale, and that comes in a clear bottle. And people used to always complain it was skunky, they would say. If you're a beer drinker, you know what I'm talking about. And this is a Tony Caravan story. And the thing about that is, the secret is if you bought it, you just had to keep it in a cold, dark place. You know. So Chesterfield Ale technically should have been in a dark bottle. And there'd be a lot less, they'd probably have more drinkers of it. You know, because people thought it was skunky. But what I found in my travels, particularly when I lived in California, and you could just buy beer in a grocery store. See, here you have to go to a beer distributorship or a bar, you know, and most bars aren't going to carry like a big selection of beers. You know, they're just going to have basically the American brands. And even some of the beer distributors, you know, because they don't want to put something there. They just want to move products. So they want a product that's going to sell. Volume, right? It's floor space. You got so much space, so you want to fill it with stuff that, you know, that you're going to make money on. You're not going to like put something there that a guy like me is going to come in and it's going to sit for a year and then it's going to go bad. Because beer has a shelf life. It doesn't last forever. It's like soft drinks and stuff. They don't last forever. So, to make a long story longer, there are these beers, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right or not, but like Sapporo, Asahi. I think that was another Japanese beer, and then there was, I think there was even another one. And I used to buy those. I was married at the time to someone who spoke Japanese, lived in Japan for a while and stuff. And I would get those things, and they used to come in some neat packaging. I forget if it was, I think it might have been, if it was Sapporo or not. One of them actually came in a pitcher. You go to the grocery store, and it was like a pitcher. You just put that in your refrigerator. You know, you opened it up, and then you could just pour yourself this pitcher. The packaging was really cool, and the Asahi can was really neat too. It was like thin at the bottom and it got wider at the top. I haven't seen that stuff in a while, and that used to be really good beer. And then at one time I was a member of the Beer of the Month Club, but the state that I lived in, this was when the internet was brand new and you could buy all this stuff. You know, when they first started to like sell over online. And so that was the Beer of the Month Club. You get like 2 6-packs or a 6-pack or whatever, I don't know, or an assortment pack. I forget how it went. But whatever it was, I signed up for it, and they would send you these beers. And there was this one beer, it was like a blonde beer. You know, that's a name, that's a type of beer, blonde. And it was the best beer I had ever tasted. And I swear within a month after that, they canceled, the state I was in decided it was illegal to have beer sent. You know, you couldn't order beer or wine online. Bastards. And as a fool, I never wrote it down or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I probably wrote it down at the time, but it was lost and gone forever. Little quick beer story. See, my mind is drifting to beer. I want to drink. Well, the thing is, man, if you walk 1.5 miles today to the grocery store, get a few of those provisions, you know, it should equalize the 2 pounds that you might gain from drinking. Because that's what usually happens. See, the thing is, when you're trying to lose weight, you know, carbs are a big factor in it. I mean, sugar's a big factor, but I'm not a sugar bug type of person. I could do without sugar. I don't give a, you know, sugar's like, you could get into it, you know, in the holidays and stuff, you know, I was making cookies, and I could bake and cook and do all kinds of stuff. People love my stuff. You know, I make cookies and stuff. They're like, oh man, these are great. You know, people say, hey, I took those cookies to my mother-in-law. She loved it. She wanted the recipe. I'm like, I'm a guy. I don't share recipes, man. I just winged it. You know, I take a bowl, I put a little bit of this, a little bit of that in. That's how I cook my soups, you know. Sometimes I make a soup and there's like 36 ingredients in it. Literally. I mean, that includes various, you know, herbs, you know, turmeric and thyme, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. How about Catherine Ross back in that era? Talk about babes. Catherine Ross. She was a doll. Yeah. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. I had some thyme growing in my backyard, but I planted it too early this year. So that was an unfortunate thing. But what can one do? Right? There's not much you could do.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
This is a true Tony Caravan Live show, you know? We're not really we don't get caught up in that weird world of television, the pop culture of politics, or the cult of personality. Save America, Build Back Better, Great Reset nonsense. The triumvirate of the international crime syndicate. We don't worry about that stuff. We're just living in the 50s. Look at it. All that stuff. Eyes Without a Face is back there. He's got his Everything You Know thing on. The Andy Warhol. The original Mac. Everything You Know Is Wrong.
Understand the procedure now?
Or this is the one I was looking for.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Man, Rod Serling. There was a redo of that, Redux, some people say. And I watched the first one in the series. It's on like that Paramount. I canceled Paramount Plus, but apparently I paid on the 17th, so I have it until the 17th. So I'm binge watching this Star Trek Discovery on it, and I watched that like sci-fi Twilight Zone Redux thing. It was an interesting story, kind of, but it wasn't really, I don't know. It was about a comedian who like, I don't know. It just wasn't that great. The thrill is gone, baby. I'm sorry I scared the cat from this like cool thing. He went upstairs. It's like hotter than hell up there. Maybe he'll come back. I'd like to turn the AC off because I'm actually getting cold. Though the top, I'm feeling the top of my computer and it's like, it's still warm though. See, that's the thing. CPU 7.5%. I'm pushing 30 frames per second and my upload is around 27. Want a beer? Caffeine. That's another reason why I gotta go for a walk, even though I have the toe. The toe. It's as bad as the tooth. But I decided not to get rid of these things just yet because you never know. It's almost like if I keep it there, maybe they will go away. Yeah, so that was Johnny Cash, you know, his rendition of Hurt. I hurt myself today. He was an interesting character, that guy, you know. I think I just listened to that album. Apparently I was just disconnected and then reconnected. I don't know if you noticed that, but I just got a notification. Why? See, if you don't even pay attention to it, see, if I'm just like focusing on doing the broadcast, you know, straight on, it's just, I just happen to be looking at, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that don't even look at these things or aren't even cognizant of stats and stream and notifications. But I just was like, I glanced, it said, it's reconnecting, you know, and then there was no connection there. So I don't know. Sometimes it just is like a flawless thing and it almost seems like you just skipped a word. I noticed that in a playback. I hate having to talk about the technical aspects of this, but it's part of this show. You know, that's part of the Tony Caravan show. You know.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
It's part tech, you know. This is an open source program I'm using that does the things that I do, right? But it's in good shape and it's fairly solid. It's just YouTube. I think YouTube's just, you know, I had to do that because YouTube pissed me off. It was a normal show. People were looking at this. They might have shared it with somebody and said, hey, this guy's interesting, right? But he just belched on air. And now he's saying he's about to say something else. YouTube just fucked with me. Close. Do you know why they fucked with me? Because I talked about the triumvirate, all right, of the organized crime syndicate, right? That being the Great Reset, Build Back Better, and Save America, and how the whole thing's absurd, and that we live in the former United States. These are the words that must remain unspoken, and maybe my, you know, dealing with, you know, appealing to people and pop cultural stuff, you know, there's such a movement to destroy me, you know, right? It's ridiculous. You're paranoid. You need to see a shrink, buddy. You need to see a shrink. Yeah, right. That's why I got all these frickin' books and CDs. Right? I gotta laugh. It's like, you know, How many of these people making 6-7 figures working for YouTube, Google, and Alphabet, right, have written nine or 10 books, have a couple of CDs, 50 songs, right, traveled the world over, you know, held high positions in New York, LA, DC, all these places. No, not. Like I say, I'm just a regular guy, you know. I'm not tooting my horn, really. It's not really a horn tooting. It's like, in my defense, Your Honor, you know, I've done all these things and I'm living at the poverty level, below the poverty level. I'm not filing, well, I didn't, and I won't be filing income taxes this year because the IRS told me I don't have to because I'm living below the poverty line. I don't have an income. You know, maybe if people would have bought some mugs and t-shirts and all that stuff. See, look at this, despite the air conditioner, look at the sweat on that mug. You see that? The condensation. There's no more ice cubes in there. And that's like warmer than the air. That's why I want to get this thing. I want to get a thing that I could just disconnect and walk free. Instead of having to like take off the head dress, the head thing. This is a beret. So anyway. I don't know. I mean, I'm like having fun. I like doing this show. I like sharing these stories. You know, seeing where things go. You know, playing a song. You know, every now and then. I mean, you know, I don't do it every day, but I had a guitar on the, you know, on the card today, I believe. Let's see. I guess we'll get rid of this 1,000 record cover one because today, let's browse. I was looking for, what was I looking for? Before I get into some kind of frozen zone, I was just going to oh, the card. Okay. I've got to, you know, sometimes I'm like losing my mind, which I am, I'm sure. Yeah. So it says, this is the card, the title card, which I call the YouTube meme. The Morning Show, hosted by Tony C., the most unpopular, at least I spelled it right, vlog on the internet, or on the net. And that's a picture of my guitar, which I took. In fact, that guitar that I played that song on, all right, that's a picture I took. My mustache is itchy, I'm sorry. Just from a guy who just belched a little while ago, saying he's sorry. But, you know, this whole thing is that's another thing that these YouTube posers and people, you know, in other words, the photography, a lot of the photography you see here on these title cards, if it's graphics or whatever, it's like actually my own, you know. And if it's not my own, I'll actually purchase or credit whatever it is, you know. And people don't do that anymore. People think, oh, the internet's free. You'll just go search for an image and grab it, right? No. You know, even playing, you know, I hurt myself today. You know, credited words and music by Trent Reznor. And Johnny Cash that's a Johnny Cash rendition of it. Now, people just don't do it. They take liberties. They don't understand it. And yet I'm the one victimized. I'm the one throttled. I'm the one that's like hidden from search, right? can't be found. I have no idea. My nose is itchy. They say if your ears are itchy or something, somebody's talking about you, but nobody's talking about me because I'm invisible. So what happens when your nose is itchy? I do not know. I'm not going to look it up because if I do, there'll just be an excuse for somehow to throttle me. Dropped frame 0, live, 1 hour, 15 minutes, 35 seconds, 40 seconds. It's a 7-second delay, it seems. But sometimes it seems like it's longer than that. CPU 6.6%, 30 frames per second. All right, enough of that. Here's one we haven't heard in a while.
I think all three of yous popped your stoppers.
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
Yeah.
The only station that matters.
Yeah, it's one of those days, so it's already light outside. The darn supermarket doesn't open till 7 a.m. I mean, I'd end this show right now and go down there, you know, because I got a feeling the sun's going to be popping up soon and it's going to be hot. And I got to carry my, you know, wallet, stiletto, mace, various things, you know, walking down the street. So I need to wear like kind of a jacket, you know. And I used to have this really North Face jacket that one of the explorers, one of those Himalayan explorers gave me. But that was also lost in that building by that hoarder guy where I lost everything. That would be perfect for right now. Instead, I'll probably have to wear like a hoodie on when it's 74 degrees outside or whatever it is. What is it right now? Let's see. Saying it's 70. Just north of here, it's 68. I wish it was 68. 70 degrees. You know? It's 6:09 a.m. It's a heat wave. Oh, we got climate crisis. Nah. If you listen to like the NOAA radio thing, they give you these, you know, the records. And even on days like this, you'll see the record. The record temperature was 1950 such and such, or 1940, whatever. You know, and these people on TV are going, this is an example of what we can expect in the future if we do not, you know, strictly adhere to the Paris Accord. Strictly adhering to the Paris Accord means one thing: to allow an authoritarian global government to rule over your country, disregard your laws, and collect fees, carbon tax fees from you. It has nothing to do with the planet. Like I said before, hey kid, it ain't your planet, so shut up. It's not even your planet. It's the trees' planet. And guess what? They breathe CO2. And you know what you are? You're a CO2 emitter, and you turn into fertilizer to fertilize the natural inhabitants of this planet, which are the trees, the flowers, right? Plants. And you vegetarians and vegans and stuff, you're eating them. You're basically doing more damage. You're better off to eat a cow. I mean, you know, I like cows. I don't, you know. But I mean, the absurdity of that is so unbelievable. They have no idea. It's their planet. You know, we're plopped here. I hurt myself today to see if I can feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. What a great line. I mean, there's like about three verses at least of that song, but I mean, it gets into the needle, you know, I think the next line is, the needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting, you know, screw that, you know. Anybody putting needles in their arms, man, you got a problem. I don't care if you're Trent Reznor or whoever you are. You know, you can be all you can be. Just get your head on straight. Sometimes I just gotta clear my throat because it's early in the morning. Why, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There was one moment in yesterday's video where I really did look like Groucho. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I darkened my mustache a little bit. It's the look. You know, it's the look. Your teeth are clean, but your mind is capped. Anyway, so I guess what I'm going to do is, I don't have anything else to say today. So I'm going to cut this show short. There's no reason to go any further. We had some fun. We talked about a few issues. I mean, it's the same old. You know, I really don't need to babble on about anything else. I recommend you go back to some of my older shows, like several weeks ago, right? And look at some of the descriptions, or just, you know, zip through them, you know, fast forward, and, you know, because there's just some real classics there, and they're very well worth the effort. I mean, we've covered a lot of really good topics. So, with that said, good morning. You know, have a good morning, and I don't know. Yeah, thanks for watching and all that stuff, but visit TonyCaravanLive.com. I'm also on Locals, TonyCaravanLive.locals.com. This is my Rock Flux YouTube channel, but you could find everything by just going to TonyCaravanLive.com. And there, I encourage you to get one of my shirts, mugs, you know, listen to my music. Links to my music are there, my books. You know, support the channel, support this thing. Show these, you know, mothers that, you know, you want this kind of programming, real programming. It's not just, you know, repetitive network and cable news blather.